Hey everyone, Mackie here with another guide. Today I'm taking you through Life is Strange Reunion, and in this video I'll show you all of the important decisions you need to make, all of the collectibles you need to find, and all of the missable achievements/trophies you can get in a single playthrough. Before even really playing the game, you can choose the decisions that were made in previous games, and this will require 2 playthroughs if you want all of the achievements or trophies. For one of the options about Chloe, you can get Dead Girl Walking, and for the other option, you'll get Blue-Haired Girl. You can only get 1 per playthrough, unfortunately. In my game, I chose that Chloe survived Arcadia Bay. Another major choice you can make early on in the game is to select that you supported Safi in the previous game. This will make it easier in the game for you later on. Now we have lots of different collectible types to worry about, including photos, sketches, optional evidence, as well as needing to save everyone at the end of the game. But the first collectible is super easy because it's a photo and you have to do it in order to proceed with the game. You'll look through the trunk and you'll be able to take a photo. That's going to be our first of many. Now, in the top left corner, you can notice the name of the scene that I'm in. This one, for example, is called Time Dojo. And for things like photos, sketches, and podcasts, they can be mopped up in Chapter Select. However, I'll be talking about things like optional evidence and some missable achievements and trophies that can't be mopped up. So just make sure you're pretty careful here. The first thing you can do is you can get a photo of the gourds or the pumpkins in the corner of the room once you enter the planetarium/science center. After taking a photo, you can pause the game to view your collectibles just to make sure that it tracked if you want to. But if you're able to save the photo, you'll get a little collectible icon that shows up once you back out, just so you know. There's another photo in the Science Center if you just walk down the hall and follow the curved wall near the steps going upstairs. You can find an astronaut. Just make sure you're nice and close when you take the picture so you can actually save it, and this will get you your second of many photos. Last but not least, in this area, we'll find our first out of 9 podcasts. And all you need to do is walk to the bathroom here and interact with the podcast flyers. If you look at the flyers, you can then listen to the podcast. Someone online mentioned that they had to listen to the entire podcast for the achievement to unlock. I don't believe that's true, as personally I didn't, and you'll see my achievement unlock at the end of the game. But the little cutscene will start, and then up to you whether you listen to the podcast or back out. But you can mop these up if you want. There's 9 total. After a little bit of time, you'll end up in a scene or chapter called Class Act, and there are a lot of things you can mop up and some things you can't mop up. We'll start with the podcast that spawns on the bench in front of you to the right-hand side. Make sure you go up to it, look at the flyer, and then listen to Moses's podcast. For me, personally, I backed out of it pretty much as soon as I was able to, and I still unlocked my podcast achievement/trophy at the end of the game. After this, I'm going to show you all of the photo locations. So the easiest way to do this is to just go towards the school. As you approach the kind of front door of the Fine Arts building, you can look to the left. You can find some graffiti near the scaffolding. Make sure you actually get the correct photo, and you'll be able to save it, and it'll say collectible unlocked once you back out. Another photo you can get is of student life. So there's actually a couple of opportunities for this. You can grab this photo of this student standing in front of this sculpture. You can also take photos of students playing chess, and they all technically count as the same collectible in your booklet. Another collectible is a photo of a squirrel. This is another instance where you can take a photo of any squirrel. I'm going to show you one kind of near the steps as I'm going to the other side of the area anyways. And there's some squirrels not far from that sculpture we were just near, and there's some squirrels near some porta potties as well. But we're just going to grab this squirrel right here near the steps, and we're going to get the What a Cute Critter photo. And then there is the Not Quite Nevermore photo, which is of crows. I believe there are more than one location for crows, so I'm just going to grab this one right here, and that should also get added to my booklet. Now that I have all of those out of the way, I'm going to go for the Bucket Challenge achievement/trophy. On this building, not far from the porta potty, you'll notice some graffiti. If you examine it, that's kind of the first step. once you examine it, it'll start a quite lengthy kind of like 2-minute cutscene where the janitor comes over and dances and then washes the graffiti away. So that is kind of the first step of the process for this achievement or trophy. After he washes it away, let the cutscene end, and then what you want to do is use your left bumper to rewind the scene. After you rewind the scene, you can then interact with the bucket, and it'll actually move the bucket towards the graffiti. At that point, after you move the bucket, you can interact with the graffiti again. This will start the cutscene, and this time during the cutscene, the janitor or the custodian will accidentally knock over the bucket instead of using it to wash away the graffiti. The result is that the graffiti is not washed away, and that's how you get the bucket challenge achievement/trophy to unlock. Now, the next type of collectible I'll talk about is called optional evidence, but it's not really optional. If you want the completion in the game, you have to get these. The first one you can grab is Reggie's notes. If you come to the water sculpture, you'll find Reggie here. After you help him figure out his photography assignment, you can look at his notebook to read his notes. Optional evidence cannot be mopped up, and all of it has to be done in one playthrough. So keep that in mind. You can do this on a second playthrough, or if you miss one, you can do a partial playthrough, but you cannot chapter select optional evidence, and that's what the game calls it. But for this video, it's not optional. You should get it. Another 2 pieces of optional evidence are by the bulletin board. Make sure you grab all 4 of the pieces of paper, but the second and third one count as optional evidence later in the game. To end off the chapter, you'll have a major choice, and I would recommend that you say you don't know anything. This will make it easier for you to be friendly with Safi later on in the game, which is important for something else. This isn't necessary, though. The next things we'll have to pay attention to happen during the chapter Open Mic Night, where you play as Max inside of the bar. As soon as you get access to movement of the character, turn around and find the silent bidding auction table. On the very far right, you'll find a sculpture bidding sheet, and after you read it, you'll have to bid. We're going to have to bid a total of 3 times and then do a small trick at the end. So let's just get one out of the way as soon as we spawn in. The next thing we can do is get the Soul of a Poet achievement/trophy. This one's pretty simple, although it takes just a little bit of time. Go up to the stage and listen to the poet. You'll have to listen to the poet a total of 4 different times, and you'll hear 4 different poems. At the end of the final poem, you will unlock the Soul of a Poet achievement/trophy, easily mopped up in Chapter Select. Now, after Amanda's performance, you'll have to kind of get rid of a heckler so that the performance can go well. Use your rewind skill a little bit, but this is all mandatory, so don't worry if you're kind of struggling figuring out what I'm talking about. You'll have to do this at some point after Amanda's performance, but before you talk to Lucas, go and revisit the silent bidding auction table. And here you'll be able to find the sculpture sheet again to see that Vihn outbid you again. And here you'll have to put your second bid down. Do that before you go ahead and talk to Lucas. After bidding on the silent auction 2 times, go ahead and talk to Lucas. And you'll have to talk to him once, then you'll have to rewind, talk to him again, and then rewind and talk to him again. And you'll be able to ask him about a new novel. And that conversation will lead to actually him letting you know that it's not a novel that he's working on, it's a podcast that he's working on. And the cutscene will kind of let you know that there is a business card that you can go look at. So after that conversation's done, we're going to stand up, we're going to walk over to the business cards, and we're going to look at them. This will unlock our 3rd out of 9 podcasts, which we need for the podcast achievement, which can technically be mopped up. But this also gives us optional evidence that you need to do in one playthrough, and you can't mop up optional evidence. So that's why it's important that you get this podcast, even if you plan on mopping those up later. This one is a little bit unique and special. You will need it. After the conversation with Lucas, you can technically leave. That's your only objective. You do not want to leave yet. You instead want to go to the bidding table for a 3rd and final time. You'll look at the bidding sheet. You'll notice that Vihn is winning, and then you will put in a bid. But Vihn will come in and sneak his name onto the list before the final whistle. So after that cutscene happens, what you have to do is you have to rewind using the left bumper or left trigger. And if you rewind, you can actually go back in time. You'll be able to look at the bidding sheet, and this time you can bid and also steal the pen, which is an automatic choice now that we've rewinded that situation. After you steal the pen, you will win the bid because Vihn can't sign his name down, and this is how you can unlock the going once, going twice achievement/trophy. You can chapter select this one, by the way, because it all happens in the same chapter. We then take control of Chloe inside of the bar break-in scene, and the collectible type for Chloe is called a sketch, and these can be mopped up in chapter select. They work similar to Max's photos. So after the cutscene, once you gain control of the character, don't sneak in by going to the left and then through the garage. Instead, go to the right of the bar to the very back door. Here you'll find a garbage can with a skull in it. Interact with the skull by looking at it. And then if you interact with it a second time, you'll be able to sketch it in your sketchbook for our first of many. We then take control of Max in the chapter Fremont Street. There are two important pieces of optional evidence that you must grab in a single playthrough here. Go forward to the left, looking into the passenger door of the truck. Here you'll find the Fremont map. This is the only piece of evidence I missed on my first playthrough, which sucks. But if you also go across the parking lot and look at the top of the back of the trunk of the car, you'll find the Abraxas flyer. Make sure you inspect that. And then you can also pull out your camera and look up into the window to find a mannequin. Make sure you take the right photo so that it saves and the collectible unlocks in your booklet. You can then move on.
That's one way to keep out trespassers.
We then start the lying and waiting chapter. We take control of Chloe at the bar here. And the first thing we'll do is we'll look at the coaster, inspect the snapping turtle coaster, flip it around, and then look at the drawing on the back. Wait for some of the dialogue to finish, and then you can sketch this drawing on the back of the coaster. This is an important sketch you'll want to grab. So after you grab that, you can then start talking to Lucas. And for Lucas, I would highly recommend that you choose the good song name dialogue here. This is just being nice to Lucas for something a little bit later on, but you will get interrupted by Noelle. And here we'll get introduced to the talkback or the back talk dialogue mechanic. For this, all you have to choose is space and then UVM. The third correct option is technically cardinal, but you don't need to know that because you will win with the first two correct words. So that is an achievement. We'll need to win all of those kind of little mini games. And then there is a major decision that happens at the end of this conversation. You have to make sure that you choose make up a name for this major decision. This also is important for the Slick Rick achievement/trophy guide, which this is the first part and the second part comes much later on in the game. Chloe and Max will then be together in the same chapter, fittingly titled Reunion. When you gain control of Max here, go up the stairs, and then you'll be able to basically watch Chloe sleep. I don't know if you have to watch kind of this entire cutscene. I ended up waiting for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then after I backed out of the cutscene, an achievement or trophy unlocked called It's kind of fascinating to me. So that should unlock after you watch her sleep. I just don't know how long you have to do it for, if I'm being completely honest. So you can always chapter select this one pretty easily if you miss it. The other thing you want to do in this chapter is after you're back downstairs, after watching her sleep, go up the steps, take out your camera, and take a photo of sleeping Chloe. This will get then added to your book. And this is yet another photo we'll need for all of them. We skip ahead to the admin sleuth subchapter or scene select. And for this, we'll be inside of the fine arts building, if I'm not mistaken. You can't miss this section. So we're going to have to go into the library and talk to Loretta to figure out a lot more about Abraxas. But after you talk to her, it doesn't really matter what you say. Go ahead and you can start kind of investigating around the library. But we actually have to grab this History of the Occult book, read it, and then bring it back to Loretta. And with the dialogue, you can ask Loretta about a name, and that name is Jack Parsons. If you do this, you'll pull up an article that is evidence for later on in the game when you need all of the evidence. And this is missable because this actually doesn't help you with your investigation, and you can move forward in the game without knowing this. Still during the Admin Sleuth subchapter, you'll work your magic through conversation and rewinding to make Vihn leave the desk, and you'll be able to go into Owen's office. Before you go into Owen's office, after Vihn leaves the desk, make sure you take a picture of the empty desk for a collectible photo. You can mop this up if you need to, but once you actually enter into the room, something you can't mop up is optional evidence. Inside of Owen's office, you can feel free to look at the map, but it's not necessary. Instead, you want to look into the drawer and make sure you find the demolition contract before you start going through the computer or using the telephone. And that demolition contract will be needed for something later. During the Cat and Max subchapter, you'll have to take a photo of a gnome. I believe there is more than one gnome you can take a photo of, so you don't have to do this one specifically, but might as well. It's pretty easy. Just walk forward and look to the left of the pathway. You'll see a gnome near a statue. Grab your camera and grab a picture of this gnome, making sure it gets added into your collectibles booklet. Not far from here, we can also find a podcast. So for the podcast, just look to the right-hand side towards the water wall sculpture. And on the picnic table nearby, you can find a podcast flyer, and then make sure you listen to this podcast before you back out and start enjoying the next subchapters. We then start a chapter called The Overlight. We take control of Chloe here, and the first thing we'll want to do is interact with the 3D printer. This is a necessary step for an achievement called Happy Birthday that we will be working towards for the next couple of chapters. After you interact with the 3D printer, you can go up the stairs, and at the top of the stairs, you can find the cherry tree. Look at the cherry tree, and then you can sketch the cherry tree for a sketch collectible, which you can mop up, but you hopefully won't miss if you're watching this video. Then what we can do is we can take a quick peek at some of the items upstairs, but the one we actually really care about is the kind of pamphlet that is on the table near the couch. This is because there is an achievement or trophy related to this. You'll want to suggest a name for this star/speck of dust in space. And the one you want to choose is the kind of rude one. So you want to try to name it Your Titties. And then after that, you should get an achievement or trophy called Uranus's Long Lost Cousin. We're keeping in the space theme. After that, try to go downstairs and then speak to Moses. And because we interacted with the 3D printer, you'll be able to ask him about the 3D printer in a conversation. This is the second part of the Happy Birthday achievement/trophy. He will agree that it's a great idea to use the 3D printer for a birthday present for Max. And then this will give Chloe an item that we'll be able to use in a future chapter to unlock that achievement. But that will happen during part 3 of this achievement. During the chapter Times in Turtle, you'll start off by taking control of Max. And the first thing we should do is walk forward, looking off the edge of the railing towards the shoreline to take a photo collectible for ourselves. The next thing you can do is start talking to Safi. And here there is a major choice, which I would highly recommend. This one's actually very important. You do want to tell her about the fire. This will allow you to build trust with her for later on in the game when it is very important to saving her. We're still in the same chapter, but now we take control of Chloe inside of the Times in Turtle Bar. And the first thing we can do is sketch the jack-o'-lantern, so make sure you look at it and then sketch it. So that's going to be a collectible immediately out of the gate. Another thing is an optional evidence, which is the receipt for the fireworks. To get this, you'll want to walk up to the bar at the end, not far from the stage. You can look at the fireworks to examine them, and then you can ask about the fireworks, which is a long conversation with Amanda. This will result in some evidence that we can rely on later in the game. So after you're done interacting with the fireworks completely, you can find podcast number 5 out of 9. There's no point of actually like naming them because you got to do all of them anyways. So go to the entrance of the bar, find the corkboard, and then listen to Loretta's podcast, and then back out of that when you are ready. There's a few more things to do in the bar before you leave. So after the podcast, we can unlock the Slick Rick achievement / trophy. And part 1 required us to give a fake name to Noelle, but it also relied on us being slightly nice to Lucas while sitting with him at the bar. This will allow you to approach him and start a conversation with him. And when you ask him about the protest, and then he'll ask you why you wanted to kind of ask or go to the protest, you can reply with your words. This kind of, makes you very overly friendly to him. And then if you do this, he will actually give you details on the protest to unlock this achievement or trophy. You then may need to walk around, talk to some people, and you'll eventually be able to talk to Amanda. She'll bring out her laptop, you'll browse the forums, and you'll learn a bunch of information that will allow you to go and talk to Joey and trigger the backtalk minigame. This isn't something you can miss, but may require you talking to a bunch of different people. During the backtalk section, what I did was I chose Cardinal Sin, then Tinder Date, which was technically wrong, but it doesn't matter, because at the end I chose Sic Semper Tyrannis, and I was still the winner of this backtalk section, which is required for the Not a Rat achievement / trophy. During the chapter Champlain Problems, you will be on a boat with both of the major main characters. Just continue the conversation. Don't worry, you can just keep talking about many, many different things, but eventually you'll be able to have the option of happy birthday. This is only possible if, as Chloe, we use the 3D printer during an earlier chapter to create the gift, and during this boat ride you'll be able to give the gift if you have it with you. You can't really miss the option if you're here, and that'll give that achievement to you. Additionally, on this boat you'll have a major choice. I decided to kiss because I wanted to reignite the romance from the earlier games. The next scene with Collectibles is the Maybon party, and once you're inside as Max and gain control of your character, go to your immediate left. To the left of the fireplace, you can find the mask with the goblet. Interact with the goblet, turn it over, and that'll allow you to put it kind of down on the table next to the mask. If you stand it up, you can then take out your camera and take a photo of Mr. Cool, which is, I guess, a little bit ironic, but if you save that to your booklet, you're good to go. The next thing you want to do is continue the chapter until you gain access to the basement and find the secret room as Chloe. Once you're in the secret room, which you'll have to find to progress the story, inspect the album on the ground next to the entrance, and then sketch the picture of what I believe is a lion. Next, you'll be presented with a very important major choice, and for this, you have to choose attack. This is where probably most people are going to miss the optional evidence, because if you attack, you get a blueprint, which you would otherwise miss. This blueprint is very important for us later on. Still at the Maybon party, we will retake control of Max outside, and things will get a little bit funky. That's kind of all I'll say. We're going to kind of walk around in circles until we can eventually get back on the patio. And before you head back inside, you can find a podcast flyer on the bench, interact with that, and then listen to the podcast before you try to head inside of the building again.
We have a very special episode for you tonight.
You'll then reach the chapter All Available Evidence, where the major gumshoe achievement / trophy will unlock because all of the whiteboards in front of you will be full. You'll have to like inspect them and then look at the suspect board and do a bunch of other stuff here. But for some of the other collectibles, head upstairs, look at the little like iguana little habitat, and you'll notice that the iguana is missing. And you'll want to take a photo of it after you inspect it to find the collectible. Another thing upstairs is a podcast. Look at the podcast flyer on the table near the couch. Look at the little piece of paper and then use the QR code to listen to this next podcast. This should be number 7 out of 9, which you can mop up in chapter select if you so desire. There will also be a conversation, which there is another major choice. For this one, I decided to tell Chloe about her death. This just allows them to gain a stronger relationship for later. In the chapter Worth the Wait, we'll also have another major choice. And for this, I decided to do the kiss option. Again, just to build their relationship for later on in the game. I don't know if this one's actually important, though. You'll then reach a very important chapter called Chloe's Decision back at the Snapping Turtle Bar. And here what we'll want to do is grab podcast number 8. For that, again, go to the corkboard near the entrance and find the Abraxas podcast from Loretta, I believe. Listen to that and then back out. So after the podcast, we can also get a hidden in plain sight sketch. There's a gnome in the rafters of the bar as you walk back. So look at it and then sketch it to make sure the collectible is found. Then we can do the Daddy Issues achievement / trophy for succeeding in our third and final backtalk minigame. First, you'll want to go towards Ren and look inside of his backpack. Then talk to Ren once and then talk to Ren again. You'll challenge them to a backtalk minigame. And the options I chose to win were I'll Tell Amanda, Red Paint Can, and Daddy Issues. After those 3, I was the winner, and Ren was not excited about it. This is also really important for us because it gives us clues and evidence as to who we should accuse of something in this next thing I'm going to recommend you to do, which is extremely important. After winning that little decision, walking around and talking to people, you'll eventually be told that you're ready to talk to Noelle to accuse someone. So you might need to talk to Ren and Joey and Lucas and Owen and a bunch of people around the bar. But to end the scene, you're going to go talk to Noelle. And when you talk to Noelle, you're going to have to tell them who you think is the person that is going to be like responsible. And based on all of our clues, we have to accuse Ren. This is the first part of the Bottled It achievement / trophy, and also very necessary for the good ending where we can save everybody later on in the game.
He's lying about.
We'll then end up in a chapter called Max's Decision, where we are in the office with Yasmin. Before we sit down and talk to her, there is a photo, and you'll want to grab it. If you don't want to, you can always mop it up, but the photo is of the statue kind of behind her. It's of an astronomer. So make sure you grab that photo. It's pretty important. And then you can have a very long, drawn-out conversation with Yasmin. And similar to the last chapter, Max now has to make a major decision, and she must accuse Vihn. This is very important for the good ending and very important for an achievement called Second Chance. This is the first part. If you don't accuse Vihn, which is the correct person to accuse, you will have a very hard time at the end of the game. Now, because we correctly accused Ren when we talked to Noelle in an earlier chapter, when Ren goes to start the fire, Noelle will be there to disarm the Molotov and save the school from being lit up by Ren. This is basically from just a decision we made earlier on and unlocks the Bottled It achievement / trophy.
Nice work, Chloe. My turn.
Then during Keeping Watch, you'll take control of Chloe on the rooftop with Moses. And there's a sketch here. You'll want to move forward. And I believe for this one, we have to interact with the big sketchbook. And if you inspect the book, after inspecting it, you can kind of flip it over. After you flip it over, you can read it. And then after you read it, you can put it down and sketch it. You want to make sure you do that. And I believe this is our last sketch, allowing us to unlock the drugstore makeup achievement / trophy. Now, because we correctly accused Vihn in the earlier chapter called Max's Decision, this will allow you to have a conversation with Vihn during the Keeping Watch chapter. And basically, Max will convince Vihn not to start a fire at the Abraxas house. She will give him a second chance. And because you prevented the fire, you'll also unlock the second chance achievement / trophy, but you'll also have a much easier time at the end of the game, making sure you save everyone. Then you'll have a chapter called In the Lighthouse, and here you can grab the You're Coming With Me achievement / trophy. This is also really important for saving everyone because this is required to save Safi. The decisions I made were YB Max, I'm sorry, Max loves you, you've been hurting since Maya died, she knows you can do better, and fine, let's be bastards. These are all nice things to say and empathetic towards her, paired with the fact that we've been nice to her throughout the entire game. This will allow us to save Safi. So we've been working really hard to save everyone so far, and the last 3 people we need to save are Jeanette, Noelle, and Anthony. So this is possible during the Line of Fire subchapter, where the school lights on fire no matter what we did earlier on. The first thing you want to do is go up the stairs and look at the poster board, and here you'll remember that Jeanette is in the observatory. So this is a key piece of information we'll need, and this is all done in like the next kind of 5 minutes or so. And then you can go into the custodian's closet, and there's a couple of specific tasks we need to do here. Head inside and start by opening the shut-off valve. After you open up the shut-off valve, there are 2 items you'll want to grab. One of the items is the mask, which is in the corner of the room. Make sure you take the mask. And the other item you need in this room in the other corner is the wrench. Make sure you also pick up the wrench. So we have the mask, we have the wrench, we've turned the shut-off valve. In this closet, there's 2 more things to do. In the kind of end of the room, there's a breaker box. Read the note on the breaker box. So after we read the note and examine it, we can then back out of the note and interact with the breaker box itself to the right-hand side. And then this will allow us to turn on the sprinkler system. This is another key thing we need to do.
This makes a difference.
After we do that, we can now go down the stairs and towards Noelle. And there are a couple of specific things we need to do, but we kind of have everything set up, so it kind of does it for us. Speak to Noelle, and you'll have to give them the mask, and you'll have to give them the information about Jeanette in the observatory. I'd highly recommend you do them in this order, because if you don't give them the mask and they go and save Jeanette, I think they end up dying to the fire. So you have to give them the mask, and then you have to tell them about Jeanette. So that's how you can basically turn Noelle into a hero and make sure that everyone survives by the end of the game. So once that conversation is done, we have a couple more things to do with our wrench and the shut-off valves. Go forward through the gate and look to the left. You'll find a shut-off valve, which you can't turn, but right next to it you'll find the T-wrench. Pick up the T-wrench and then interact with the shut-off valve here in order to turn on some more water. And then after you turn this valve, there's one more valve actually. So we've turned the valve on in the custodian's office, we've turned on this valve, and then we want to run towards the police car. And so just kind of follow the rounded edge, go towards the left fountain, and then follow the police lights. On the ground in the corner here, you'll find one more shut-off valve. And for this one, you'll also need that T-wrench, which we picked up just 1 second ago. This just helps you save some of the innocent students in the building and allows you to be a hero and allows you to save everyone. So after you've done that, you still have to save Anthony. To save Anthony, we have the wrench in our inventory. You can see it in the top right corner. and you'll have to run towards the front of the building, and you'll have to interact with the front door. If you have the wrench, you'll automatically use the wrench to break the window, shout into the building, and then Anthony, who would typically not make it out, will make it out of this smashed window now that it's smashed. So in this one scene, we've saved Jeanette and Noelle by using the mask and the location. We've saved Anthony with the wrench, and we've turned on all the shut-off valves. We've also saved Ren, and we've saved Vihn by correctly accusing them of crimes. And we also saved Safi by choosing the best options when it came to our conversation with her and some of the decisions we made throughout the game about her. Because we've done all of these things, we've saved everyone in the game and gotten the Supermax achievement / trophy for saving everyone possible. We now make our way into the memorial chapter, and because nobody died in the fire, we actually have a wall of heroes instead of a memorial wall. Take a photo of this in order to grab one of our final collectibles. We can also find our final podcast in this chapter. So go towards the docks and then interact with the Adirondack chair. There's a podcast flyer here. Listen to the final episode of Loretta's Abraxcast. And then once you back out of this, assuming you've gotten all 9, you should grab the achievement or trophy for all of the podcasts like you see on screen here. So there are 2 more extremely important things to do. The first thing you'll want to do is drop a like on this video if it's been helpful to you. It helps out the channel and lets me know that I did a good job. But during the Partners in Crime chapter, you'll have to take a photo of Chloe in order to finish off the story. And this is our last collectible of the game. You'll unlock a couple of achievements or trophies for getting all the collectibles. You can then beat the game, and you may have to do a second playthrough for the other type of playthrough. And that should be it. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope it was helpful. Special thanks to everyone on Patreon for supporting the show, and I'll see you soon. Peace.